up, everybody? It's your boy Chaz Pearson, and this is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camello. What up, Chris?
Well, it was going good. We had Showtime at the Ravine, but now it's a nail biter. But it is the NBA playoff season, so we got a lot to get into on that.
Best time of year, man. Best time of year. Trey Young gets ejected in a blowout loss in Orlando. Miami sends Chicago home packing with Tyler Hero dropping 38 points. Nico Harrison just won't let it go with with Luka Doncic and that trade. And what is the most intriguing playoff matchup this upcoming weekend? We got it all for you with the outlet forum this week. But Chris, we got to start first with the Golden State Warriors, who punched their postseason ticket, and they are off to face Houston in round one on Sunday after beating the Memphis Grizzlies in what was a close game, a thriller. Man, what did you make of John Morant going down with his ankle injury? He only scored 4 points after having 18, I believe, in the first three and a half quarters. But Steph just being Steph, Jimmy Butler being playoff Jimmy with 38 points. What did you make of the win? And do you have them in a great series with the Houston Rockets?
Best playing game by far. That was one of the biggest takeaways I had. That game was a battle, and you know what? Shout out to the Warriors. Like them, hate them. You got to just admit they are fun to watch. They are fun to watch. Me and my girl Chaz, we were watching Sunday afternoon's game against the Clippers, which felt like a playoff game in and of itself because there were massive stipulations for that game. The winner of that game was going to get the play-in. The Clippers ended up edging them out in overtime. A huge game by Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. They were fantastic in that game. Norman Powell made some big plays. So it was a heartbreaking loss. So for the Warriors to bounce back from that literally like 48 hours later and face off against a very good Memphis team. And by the way, Warriors have not been all sunshine and rainbows in the play-in tournament. They have actually been pretty bad. 0-3
awful
in the play-in tournament. So they have been pretty bad. So for them to not only be able to win a close game, but to win in the play-in game and surviving a massive second half comeback by the Memphis Grizzlies. John Morant was fantastic, but Desmond Bane was great. Jackson was great. Zach Edey stepped up and played well. Scottie Pippen Jr. played well off the bench. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of guys played well for Memphis. They fought tooth and nail up until the very end. But at the end of the day, it was too much Jimmy for 3.5 quarters, and then it was Steph that took him home. So, Jimmy Butler was saying after the game, we're like the new Batman and Robin. Although he didn't call himself Robin. He called Steph Batman. And, Jimmy, you pointed this out. You pointed this out a few months back when we were talking about the uncertain future he was going to have in Miami. The one thing you said is you could count on playoff Jimmy. And that is a real thing. Yeah. Go back to his days in Chicago. Go back to his brief time in Minnesota, even in Philadelphia. And, of course, those 5 full seasons he had in Miami. This guy, if he is healthy, gives you a chance to win. And we saw that on full display. Here is the problem. And I'm happy to see them go to, just not as a Warriors fan because I'm not a Warriors fan, but they are fun to watch. As a basketball fan, I am looking forward to that series against the Houston Rockets. The thing that should worry Warriors fans, though, is you got 75 points behind from both of those guys, and you almost still lost.
And it was still close.
That is the right. And it was still close. That is the scary thing. You got great performances from them on Sunday against the Clippers, and you lost. So don't think just because Houston may be young and inexperienced and everything like that, that you're just going to show up and knock them out in 5 games. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to play. The way you played against the Clippers and Memphis is how you're going to have to play 4 times out of 7.
Yeah, no, I got the Warriors in the series. I do think that eventually they're going to match up with the Lakers because of playoff Jimmy. I told you about playoff Jimmy. We've all known about playoff Jimmy, but specifically coming to this Warriors team to put up the amount of points that he did. He doesn't do it, but once every 8 games in the postseason, only once pretty much every, I think it was every 300 regular season games. That's how often he does it in the regular season, but does it once every 8 games in the postseason. So I don't expect this from Jimmy, but maybe one more time, if at all, this series. So I do think that the Warriors are going to have a lot of problems. with Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks and Fred Van Vliet, playoff Fred Van Vliet. Like we saw, it's been 5 years since we've seen Van Vliet, really do his thing on the big stage. But I'm
The length, the
confident in the
size, the athleticism of Houston is
yeah,
going to be a problem. Continue, but
it's
I
gonna
just
be.
wanted to point that out.
I mean, Shingun is going to give Draymond all he can handle, honestly. So even
Yeah.
even even though Draymond is Draymond and is going to get the best of Sengun, Shingun is going to get his as well. And I think Jalen Green is really going to, if he can be consistent, he can really put Houston over the top. But I'm actually putting my money on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. I think in 7 games, honestly, it's going to be a very tough series. I initially thought after that the Golden State Warriors lost on Sunday, I really thought that they would possibly lose against Memphis and then have no chance against OKC. But because they won that game against Memphis, especially in the fashion that they did, with combining with over 50% of the team's points with Jimmy and Steph, I didn't see that coming. I really didn't see just those two carrying the team the way that they did. And I thought about something like, you think Jimmy Butler is allowing Steph to rest in a way because he gets to the line more, and also he puts the Warriors in the bonus.
Yeah.
So by the time Steph gets to the line on any of these ticky-tack fouls that they call, like sometimes it would be side out of bounds, but now he's going to the line because Jimmy has already racked up 3 or 4 other fouls earlier in the quarter. Like, I think that says a lot, especially in a possession type game, in the postseason where
Well,
every point and every possession matters like that. What do you think about that?
yeah, no, I mean, we talked about this. I don't know if it was last week's show or 2 weeks ago, where I said Jimmy Butler is adding a dynamic and an element to this team that we have not seen since Kevin Durant was here. No disrespect to Klay Thompson, but Klay was a different type of number two. He was a guy that you still had to set up off of screens and whatnot, but he was not a shot getter. He was not a free throw line getter. You know what I mean? Or a free throw getter. So Jimmy, what's great about him is that you could set up isolations for him, which allows Steph to come up off the ball. And we've seen certain sets that we have not seen implemented in the Golden State offense since Kevin Durant was there, which is why I called what Butler is adding to this team is like a Diet Coke version of what Durant was for those 4 seasons he was with the team, or 3 seasons, however long he was with the Warriors. So yeah, I think it has added a different dynamic where they are a little bit more efficient, Chaz, in the half court because they have someone who can go out and get his own shot, create for others, and get to the free throw line. And now it's something else for the defense to account for instead of just chasing around these shooters on the perimeter.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to the fact that Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are just that much more experienced. And it's not about talent sometimes in the playoffs. Obviously, everybody's talented, but it's really just about experience and situational possession field basketball. Now, Ime Udoka he's going to
Great
outcoach Steve
coach.
Kerr at least one of those games. They've already
At
faced
least,
off
yeah.
in the finals back in 22 when Boston lost to the Golden State Warriors for their fourth championship. Um, or yeah, their fourth championship together as presently constructed. Well, I guess with the core of Draymond, Steph, and Klay until Klay left. So I don't know, man. I really think that the
It's going
Golden
to be a
State
good
Warriors are
series.
gonna. It's gonna be a great series. And we'll talk a little bit more because I have this series later on in another topic that we got. But man, it's this postseason is going to be absolutely bananas, and I can already tell based off of Memphis's uh collapse because they were up. They were up. They had a stranglehold on that game. But Steph Curry being Steph Curry, man, he hit some really, really tough shots. Also, earlier that evening, you had Trey Young getting ejected after getting his absolute mollywop by the Orlando Magic. 25 points. They were down by as many as 30. Chris, what did you make of the ejection? I thought it was kind of silly and unnecessary personally, but I give you the floor. What did you make of his ejection? And also the Hawks going home to face a Heat team that just got rid of the Chicago Bulls. Do you think Trey Young bounces back, or is this just really the sign that he's just that frustrated that they can't win a game.
Yeah, well, first of all, you never want to see ejections like that. Even in a play-in game situation, nobody comes out to see these stars get ejected. We were talking about this, about the Luka Doncic situation.
God, it is the
Much different.
fucking worst.
Much different
Hate it.
circumstances, obviously, but still, Trey, I think, was frustrated. I think it was Anthony Black, right, of Orlando, swats his shot, kind of stands over him, punks Trae Young a little bit. And the thing is, Chaez, I understand these stars all deserve respect, especially a guy like Trae Young, who's been doing it at a high level for the last 7 years. And we've seen him put on some shows, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. I mean, hey, I love me some Ice Trae. It's getting a little chilly in here. However, who I have also, and you know this, have subscribed to the book of, if you are smacking that ass, you got the right to talk shit.
Belt to ass.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what did Ty Lawson say? We're going to bust their ass. And I told Kobe, we're going to bust their ass again. Obviously, that was a little out of line, but I still like, yeah, that was Ty Lawson. I like the fact that it happens. That's what playoff basketball is about, man. Getting in each other's faces, talking smack. Trae was at that point frustrated. I get it. But Trae, you got to be one step ahead of these guys. You cannot allow yourself to get so frustrated that you get tossed from the game. I understand. In that 7-8 matchup, there's life after death. So they will get a chance to host the matchup on Friday night, the play-in final, I guess, if you want to call it that, against the Miami Heat for the final 8 for the 8 seed. But you cannot allow your frustrations to get the best of you and then get yourself thrown out and essentially abandon your team at a moment of need, because at that point the game really turned in Orlando's favor and they were able to win that game in a runaway, a +19, Chaez, in the fourth quarter. It was just a 6-point game going into the fourth after Niang hit that buzzer-beating 3, and they won by 25. That cannot happen. I'm sorry. It's okay to lose. You can't lose like that, though, with your best player in the locker room.
I mean, that's been the Atlanta Hawks all
that's been right, and that's actually been the Hawks the last three years. This is where they've been living. What did Will Smith say in Hitch when he was teaching Kevin James how to dance? Right here. This is where you live. That's the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks live in the play-in tournament. That's where they live.
I did not have a Hitch reference in my bingo card for tonight's show. Well played.
Yeah, well, I'm full of surprises. I'm like, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
You going to fit some Forrest Gump in there too, man?
Mark that off your bingo card too, boss.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I responded to a reference with a reference. I mean, come on, man. That's G.
Now, when it comes to the Eastern Conference, man, like with the Miami Heat, like that's enough of, like, I don't expect Orlando to score 120 points again in these playoffs. Trae and the Atlanta Hawks just had a bad night, but Miami had a great night. And I don't think that they're going to have a great night like this again, because this is what happens in a 9-10 matchup. You get potential blowouts and bad matchups because the Kings are getting blown out at home by the Dallas Mavericks right now as we speak at the moment. So what do you have with the Miami Heat? What did you make of Tyler Hero's performance of 38 points? I mean, he was on fire, man. He couldn't miss. He got going early. He got in early space. But do you think that they can replicate this going out in the next round or the next play-in game, I should say, on Friday?
Well, actually, hold on. Let me get back to you on that. 83-66 right now, 5:10 to go in the third. Mavericks are up 17, but Levine and DeRozan have woken up. They only had 21 points combined in the first half, and they're starting to get it going. Ironically enough, Anthony Davis is starting to get going for the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll keep you updated on that game. About the Miami Heat. Yeah, I mean, if you recall last week, Chaez, you said what's the one thing that is our prediction, right? Or the one thing that could be a surprise come this week with the play-in tournament and, of course, the playoffs starting on Saturday. And what did I say? I said Chicago is going to beat Miami. I think they took 3 out of 4 in the season series. Josh Giddey's played well, Kobe White. But once again, that Heat culture, when that calendar flips to the playoff time, to April, they seem to go into a different gear. And that play tonight. And no Jimmy Butler, no problem. Tyler Hero was fantastic. Bam Adebayo was really, played really well. Davion Mitchell's defense on Kobe White was fantastic. Hey, even Hay was getting in on the action. Andrew, everyone seemed to have a piece in this game. Whether it had a huge game or not, the best, not 100%. I'm not trying to make excuses. There's no excuse to get blown out like during a playing game like that. But yeah, it was definitely disappointing for Chicago. But give Miami credit. They are also, like the Hawks, I've said, they are also no strangers to the play-in tournament. They've been here before. A lot of these guys were on this team last year when what did they lose? They lost.
They did.
And they still ended up winning the second game and got to the playoffs and played Boston. So this team, if nothing else, by sheer effort, intensity, efficient, and working together, they're always going to give themselves a chance to win. That's exactly what they did tonight. And Chicago just was slapped upside the head early, couldn't ever dig themselves out of that hole, and that's why they're headed home. So disappointing season because I thought they played really well the second half. But Miami, once again, that experience that you were just talking about with Butler and Curry, we just saw that with Miami.
That's just what it is, man. Especially these play-in games. Here's my opinion, man. If they're not within 5 games of the 8 seed, I think that does a disservice to the playoffs. And I get it's a money grab. I get ESPN is playing and TNT. Well, no more after this year, but this is what is part of the bidding and everything like that. You already have these slots, so you might as well have the games. I don't really agree with it if the ninth, and 10th team are 5 and 8 games behind the 7 and 8 seed. Like there has to be some kind of credit given to a 7 or 8 seed that wins 45, 48, maybe even 50 games one season and still has to play in this one game situation, have a bad night, and then the whole season, like that's pretty bad. It's almost as bad in baseball where you have these 1 game or 3 game series after playing 162 games. I know we don't have the 1 gamers anymore unless you're tied at the end of 162 when we have 163, but like these
you're
one
talking
game
about
situations.
Yeah.
These one game
What
situations when
you're
you're
talking about,
eight,
Chaz,
nine
reminds
games,
me of
5 games above. Yeah. Go ahead.
what you're talking about reminds me of the 2021 Dodgers. Remember? Giants 107 wins, Dodgers 106 wins, but because the Giants won the division, the Dodgers' only path to get into a playoff series was what? The wild card game. And it took a Chris Taylor 2-run home run to beat the Cardinals. And then who is waiting for the Dodgers on the other end? Because that's how it works.
Right.
The number 1 overall seed plays the winner of the wild card. And the Dodgers
they got to fix
all
this.
5 games. Yeah, no, but hold on. Fix is one thing, but every year it takes on its own personality. So you can't set something in place when it changes year in and year out. That's the only thing I'll push back on.
But the plan was only created for the bubble when people were like, "Oh, we don't have enough games." In any other regular season, we'd have enough games to possibly make it up. So you had to be within a certain number of games. They should definitely go back to that. I don't want to see a 9 and 10 matchup as off as the 9-10 matchup is in the East. Or even personally in the West. I don't think that the Mavericks or the Kings have any business playing against Memphis on Friday, but here we are. Like Memphis could go down because they've just been on a downward slide, and somehow, some way, the Mavericks, even amid all their injuries, could find their way in a 7 game series potentially with the OKC Thunder, a matchup of last year's semifinal without Luka and add AD and no Kyrie, I guess. So, speaking of the Mavericks, Nico Harrison just won't shut.
Well, handle your business. Yeah.
I get it. Handle your business, win games. Nico Harrison needs to handle his business, Chris.
No.
This guy just will not shut up about the Luka Doncic trade. I'm going to set this up for you. He does another presser. This time, doesn't allow any cameras, doesn't allow any media recorders or voice recording or anything like that. Wendy on First Take said that people were so disheveled that they had to negotiate using some kind of something because we're not going to write down every word that you say. We got quotes in here that need to be reported on. So eventually they let that in, but no cameras because Nico Harrison said he has no regrets on the Luka trade. All right, like, don't you want to wait a little more and maybe win and see where you fall before you start talking? Even like this guy, he just clearly doesn't get it. And I'm starting to think that it's clearly ownership that wanted him out. But Nico Harris, they're making Nico go so hard for this. It just doesn't make sense. None of this adds up, especially the way that it's being done. What do you make of this presser? And does this shine Nico in an even worse light, or is it just about the same because it was already as bad as it gets after trading Luca the way he did?
Yeah, they seem to enjoy digging themselves a deeper hole right now. And the heart, I remember another reference for you, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. He tells a story about quicksand and how he was like, the harder you fight, the deeper you sink till you can't move. You can't breathe because you're in over your head, like quicksand. The Dallas Mavericks
Yeah.
front office and ownership are in quicksand right now, in over their heads, not knowing what the hell they're doing. And they think by being more defensive, by talking about how they made this great trade, that's going to make people feel better about the fact that they gave away or traded a generational superstar. No disrespect to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis may end up leading them to a win tonight. Bravo. Great. But it's going to take a hell of a lot more than that for people to forget that you traded Luka Doncic. And you're tugging at people's heartstrings as well. And to have this like poorly arranged, we're going to have a press conference, but no cameras, no recording. What the hell are you guys doing? What are you doing? You guys just, reinforce the idea that y'all are collective jackasses. That's what you guys look like. Not just Nico Harrison, by the way. Ownership, too, is revealing themselves to be even more like jackasses. Miserly, stupid, egotistical, all of those things. And trying to basically say like, screw you, we did this trade. No, brother, screw you. You didn't even get Austin Reeves in this deal. You didn't get more draft picks. You financially hamstrung yourselves, and you don't know what an injury-prone Anthony Davis can do. You don't know what Kyrie's going to look like next year when he's coming off that ACL surgery. And you can't even really get better through free agency or possibly even trades. So it's just so tone deaf to the situation and so defensive. Rather than just say nothing at this point, because your season, you're right, could be done by Friday at the hands of the Memphis Grizzlies. And if not by Friday, it'll be done in 2 weeks once the Oklahoma City Thunder is done with
Get
them.
through with
That's for
you.
sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what the hell are you all doing over here? Okay, Anthony Davis is a nice player. He led the Lakers to a 2020 championship. I am forever thankful for everything he did to this franchise. However, to say that this dude, Anthony Davis, as good as he is going to eclipse what you had with Luka Doncic, not even Laker fans are going to believe that. Not even Anthony Davis's own family would sign off on that because it's just not true. But this is where we're at now. It's not about the truth. It's about what I could spin and what I could sell. We see that in politics. We see that throughout the media. We're seeing it now with the Dallas Mavericks, and it's sad.
Yeah, I don't get this presser. I don't know why they feel that. I think after maybe Luca going to Dallas and giving him 45 and that awkward moment, I'm on the couch and I felt awkward. I can only imagine what it was like in that arena when they're chanting "Fire Nico" the way that they were, as loud as they were on national TV. So I mean, and then they got the camera right on him. He's wearing the suit, like he's sitting front and center. He's really
He's got
these
that scrunch
owners
face
these
going.
these owners really got to give him a bonus or some extra shit because
Yes. How's my
first
Nico Harrison face?
you look just like him minus a few other features, but it's just amazing that he continues to talk about it. It's almost as bad as Matt Ishbia firing Bud of the Phoenix Suns, after paying three coaches. I think it's Monty, Vogel, and Mike Budenholzer. So
By the way,
I mean,
I have an assignment to anyone with kids out there. Add this to when I grow up. When I grow up, I want to be a fired head coach with a guaranteed salary. Man,
No, you don't.
what a sweet gig. Hold on though, Chaez. What a sweet gig that is to be paid, in Budenholzer's case, $40 million to not coach. Oh my God, that is the dream right there, bro. Come
But
on.
isn't there some kind of buyout though? Like he doesn't get to keep all of the money on the 4 years that he's not coaching. Like there's got to be some kind of buyout. Or I think when he picks up another job that
Yeah,
the other team pays, that like you can't
it's
get
like
two salary.
alimony.
Like yeah, some yeah, the Phoenix Suns are all
Oh,
messed up.
awful.
At least the Memphis Grizzlies, they fire their coach, they're still in it. The Denver Nuggets, they fire their coach and their GM, they're still in it. Who else
Can I
got
ask you a
fired
question?
this?
Can I ask you a
Who else got
question?
fired this week?
Because I was going to get to that. David Griffin, longtime president of basketball operations for the New Orleans Pelicans, had some good years. Some promise was building, with the hiring of Willie Green, some of the great young draft picks that they had, Jose Alvarado's, Herbert Jones, Trey Murphy III. They picked up DeJounte Murray this offseason. We thought Zion was going to break loose or break out and start to really
Man,
become the superstar that we all thought he was going to be. And once again, they got pummeled this season with injuries. They continued on a downward spiral, and they missed the playoffs, I think, for the second or a time in 3 or 4 years now. And Griff is now gone. Gail Benson fired him this week, and he will be replaced with Joe Dumars, former executive of the year with the Detroit Pistons, spent 15
which is
years
very interesting to say
in
the
Detroit,
least.
won a championship. And I just wanted to get your opinion on Griff getting fired and then ultimately replaced with Joe Dumars, who has been spending this year in the NBA offices with Adam Silver, the commissioner.
Man, I don't think Griff did a bad job. He just picked the wrong guy, and it seems like Memphis picked the wrong guy as well. Like I gotta go back. I gotta go back to the 2019 NBA draft, Chris, because like you had two picks in Zion and John Morant that were pretty much can't miss, and one
Yeah.
can't stay healthy, and the other one can't stay
Keep his head on
keep his head
straight.
on straight.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, you had Darius Garland that went 5 to the Cavs. You had DeAndre Hunter to the Hawks. I mean, none of them were Zion or Ja, but like at this point, Darius Garland seems like a much better bet than Ja or Zion at this point. So Griff just showed like he built the roster pretty good. They were contending. They gave
I
the
agree.
Phoenix Suns all
Yeah.
that they could handle, especially coming off of their finals matchup. They were on the way back to the finals, and New Orleans was they played great, but you hitch your wagon to Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, and you came up short because those were players that you just couldn't bet on. There's a reason why Brandon Ingram got traded. Now, people say that Brandon Ingram is going to do great things for the Toronto Raptors, and he just may, but he's not going to do the things that you would draft a number 2 pick to be able to do, right? That's more like
Sure.
based on Brandon Ingram's career. If he was like a 14th or 18th or something else pick, then his career would be like, oh man, he overachieved. But at the second pick, and you were drafted ahead of um wasn't you were he was drafted ahead of Jalen Brown, who's the finals MVP. Brandon Ingram was. So David Griffin just got the short end of the stick, and that's what happens when you do business with the Pelicans. And I'm not forgetting what happened in 2019. Dell Demps got it. Now David Griffin got it. Gail Benson and Mickey Loomis. You guys like karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
And you
And what was so funny was, no, you're absolutely right. I just want to point something out about me. I was one of the people who were saying replace Rob Pelinka with David Griffin
ugh,
because Griffin
Chris.
had proven himself. Well, he had proven himself as a championship executive with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Had some good years before that in Phoenix, where they were kind of trending in the right direction in the post Nash era. And I thought, if nothing else, there was the connection with him and LeBron. So I thought, like, okay, he could build the team properly, and you actually have someone who other teams might be willing to make deals with as well, a more respected executive. I thought he was going to do fine in New Orleans. Like I said, they were, and you pointed out all the years of success. Like they were either in the play-in or in the playoffs. They just never could win a series. And the health of Zion Williamson was even last year in the play-in against the Lakers. Zion was giving it to the Lakers. And had he not gone down in that game, maybe the Lakers don't win that 7-8 matchup. And maybe they fall, they end up as an 8 seed or maybe not even make the playoffs at all. So it just feels like we were waiting for them to have that big year, right? Like what Cleveland's doing now, what Boston eventually did, what even Houston's doing, right? Or Oklahoma City. We thought that New Orleans was on that similar trajectory where we were going to see them be a top 2, top 3 seed in the Western Conference. And they just couldn't get there. And Zion Williamson has been a big reason for that. And maybe Griff should fall on that sword. But at the same point in time, I agree. I think he had some good drafts. He had some good ideas. It just did not work out. And, unfortunately, he has to be the one that pays for that. And I don't really think Joe Dumars is the answer per se. I think I could see him having friction with Zion. And I think that's going to come to a head. Maybe not next year, but soon with Dumars and Zion if it's not heading in the right
Dumars
direction.
might go right in there and just trade Zion and after one meeting, like he could very well go.
Maybe.
He could very well go.
I don't think he's that brash, but maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
he's an NBA exec. He knows what's going on in the league just as well as anybody else. So he's, in my opinion, I mean, look, I don't know his day to day and his job and everything. Pretty much, he's the guy that had to come out with statements anytime he had to suspend Draymond Green for being a fucking idiot. So, like, to do that, to now put together the roster for the New Orleans Pelicans, I don't know which one is a better job, but I guess he probably wants to get back to building a team like he did previously with the Detroit Pistons and wants to make New Orleans a better team. They got some good core. Like I do think they have some good players, but if you trade Zion, you might be onto something because you might get some picks to be able to get a good player in this upcoming NBA draft, which seems to be the word is it's not super deep, but it's deep enough to be able to get some good shooters, some good players, and good playmakers after Cooper Flag obviously goes to oh man, I'd love for him. I need him to go to a big market. I would hate for him to go to Charlotte or Washington or the
Look at. I
Spurs.
just want
Like
to point. I want to point out all the fines under Griffin. By the way, everyone's going to talk about Zion, but he found Alvarado. He found Murphy. He found Jones. He found Jordan Hawkins. Even this year, that guy Messi, Motkovich, Dyson Daniels, who was the centerpiece deal, might even be Defensive Player of the Year, and he was the centerpiece of the deal to get DeJounte Murray. I'm just saying, these are all quality NBA players. Maybe not superstars, all of them, but really good role players. And that's not bad to draft some of these guys. That's all I'm saying.
Why were they so bad this year if they were
and a good coach with Willie Green?
exactly
Injuries decimated them. Injuries decimated them, in my opinion. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not growing and your ownership loses patience, someone's going to have to pay for that. And they feel that Griffin is no longer the answer. I just don't know if Joe Dumars is that answer either. I think Joe Dumars is a fine executive. He's doing great things in the league office. I just, he hasn't been. It's been 11 years, going into 12 years since he has run an NBA franchise. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to get this team back on track anytime soon. Is my opinion, but I've been wrong before.
Me too. And that's enough on David Griffin and the lowly New Orleans Pelicans, who still claim to this day that they won the AD trade, even though the Lakers got a ring. Fucking stupid. Now, with everything going on with the NBA playoffs, we have to talk about some of these matchups, Chris. We got Lakers, Wolves, Luca, Ant-Man again with a side of LeBron James. Okay. We also got Golden State Warriors, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry against Amen Thompson, Şengün, Draymond Green, Ime Udoka. Like, we got that matchup. Shoot, you even got Bucks Pacers with everything that went on with them last season, this season, knocking them out in previous years. No Dame, but the Indiana Pacers are, a very, very hot team. Which of these matchups, not just those three, but also many more, that Boston matchup that's got to be a sweep against Orlando. They just can't, just from the simple
Mm.
fact that they can't score enough points to keep up with Boston, let alone defense. What is the most intriguing playoff matchup to you? Is it on Saturday or Sunday? Which one is it?
Well, first of all, I also don't think the Magic are going to be an easy pushover
Oh my
either. We saw
God.
this team has got a certain level of compete with them. Excuse me, I believe I have the floor, sir. I believe that the Magic have a certain level of compete with them. I do believe that they have the length and the athleticism on the perimeter that could at least match up with Boston better than some of these teams. I believe this will be a 5, maybe a 6-game series. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think Orlando is going to surprise a few people. That's all I'm going to say on that.
You
Okay.
have the floor,
But that is
sir.
not my most intriguing matchup. Okay. I have 2 of them, but I'm going to go with one. You can't not say the Lakers and Timberwolves. You can't not say it, man. This series is going to have a little bit of everything in it. You've got Jared Vanderbilt going up against his former team. He's excited to take on the Ant-Man and Julius Randle and Conley and Rudy Gobert and those guys. You have Ant-Man against Luka Part 2. We know Luka busted Minnesota's ass last year in the conference finals, including knocking down a big-time 3 over Rudy Gobert. That clip has been going viral on social media. And you also have LeBron James, who I really don't know who on Minnesota can match up with him. Jaden McDaniels is a fine defender, no question about it. But if he gets into foul trouble, then what do you have? I think the thing is, Anthony Edwards is going to the Ant-Man is going to have to defend in this series. LeBron may have to defend a little bit. Luka may have to defend a little bit. But Ant-Man's going to have to defend a lot because you have 2 superstars on the perimeter. And I just don't think Minnesota has enough to match up with them. And also, too, who on Minnesota is going to match up with Austin Reeves? They don't have anybody that can match up with AR. They're going to be so consumed with LeBron and Luka. AR could end up being a 25-point per game scorer in this series. Now, what am I going to give Minnesota credit for? 1, their size. Rudy Gobert, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Naz Reid, big man who could stretch the floor. Julius Randle is a bull in a china shop. Even at 6'8", that dude plays hard, could rebound, even though his playoff numbers or whatever. They are 5th in defensive efficiency, and they're top 10 in three-pointers made. Don't mess with this team because they've also won 9 out of 11, so they've got confidence too. And they got to the conference finals last year, so they know a thing or two about the playoffs the last couple of years. However, I still think that the Lakers can beat them in 5 to 6 games. I just think between Luka versus the Ant-Man, that's going to be deliver a certain level of superstar intrigue that's going to have everyone glued to their television sets. And yes, I said television sets.
Drops the mic on you, bitch ass. I mean, I get it. It's the Lakers. I don't think it's.
Your thoughts and then your pick.
I
Sorry,
don't
go ahead.
think that's the most intriguing matchup. It's a really good matchup, but I don't think it's the most intriguing matchup because it has the potential to be a gentleman sweep, and you kind of expect the Lakers to handle business as long as guys like Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura and Jackson Hayes don't play great. Just show up. If you show up along with LeBron and Luca and Austin, you're going to beat the Wolves because they traded Karl Anthony Towns. And as great as Julius Randle is as an NBA player, there's good, there's great, and then there's all time great. He's not all time great. The other 2 guys in that are most purple and gold Laker jerseys in 77 and 23 are all time great. Ant-Man, to be determined, potentially. Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Rudy Gobert, not like that. So that's why I wouldn't pick that. The most intriguing matchup to me, by bar none. I mean, that Cavs matchup is awful. Any Eastern Conference matchup other than, like, you don't even know who the Cavs are playing yet, and whoever they're playing, it's awful because I expect them to win that series in 5 games, whether it's oh,
Atlanta or Miami.
exactly.
It'll be Atlanta
Actually
or
no,
Miami.
it's going
Play
to be
Cleveland,
Orlando.
yeah.
It's going to yeah,
No. Orlando's playing Boston. I just said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking Cleveland's the 2 seed. They're the
No,
best.
you're good.
It's the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. That's the most intriguing. And here's why. For one simple reason.
That's a good one. It's a good
One
one.
simple
Yeah.
reason.
It's all right.
To me, and I'll give it to you after I say this, but like I don't sometimes is it the young star becoming a star like Ant did last year? Is it the star
Hmm.
that ascends to being an all-time type of echelon star like Luca did and Jokic has done? Or is it the star like LeBron and Steph that's still the or Jimmy that's still the old guard that's like, no, I'm still here. Like there's three levels to it when you
Hmm.
see it come of age. Next year, I believe it's going to be Wemby becoming that because injury derailed
Hopefully,
him
yeah,
because the Spurs were actually on their way this year, especially with
right.
Stephon Castle. But I think it's going to be the Jalen Green versus the Steph, who's already like that star. Like those two are really
Hmm.
going to go at it, and I'm intrigued to see if Jalen Green can get if Ime Udoka can get Jalen Green to be the man and Şengün over the hump. And I'm not even mentioning Jabari Smith Jr.
Smith
Like
Jr. Yeah.
that team has so much. Like, are they going to be good enough to get over the hump of the old guard of Jimmy Butler, Draymond, Stephen Curry, and Steve Kerr? I'm especially with Kaminga and Moody not really being like that. Kaminga, I don't even think he dressed
Didn't
last
play.
night. Of
No,
course,
no.
he didn't play,
Well,
but I
he
don't even think he
dressed.
dressed. Like
Yeah.
in terms of like
Well,
had a
yeah.
jersey on. Like had they called his number, could he have just took off his shit and run in? I don't think so.
It's an intriguing series. I told you that 15 minutes ago. I said this is going to be a fun series to watch. The length, the athleticism, the youthful exuberance, and whatnot. The thing with Houston, by the way, went into Golden State and busted their ass a couple. God, what is that? Third time I've said that tonight. Went into
Bust
Golden
their ass.
State and yeah, no, I mean they pummeled them. Golden State at times. This is what's scary about Golden State. Was last night an emotional win against Memphis? Yes, it was. However, think about it like this: glass half empty, glass half full. You got 75 points from playoff Jimmy and a four-time champion in Steph Curry, and it still almost wasn't good enough to beat Memphis. This Houston team, you could make the argument, has been the best team in the Western Conference post All-Star break. This was a team that was toiling in that play-in mode, all of a sudden shot past the Denvers, the Lakers, the Clippers, Minnesota, Memphis, whoever, to get the number 2 seed,
Right.
right? They're not nothing. Well coached. We saw what Ime's capable of doing. He went to the finals in his first year. Yes, it was with an established Boston team, but the coaching job he's done the last 2 years, yes, I'm counting last year as well, even though they missed everything completely, including the play-in. He has shown that he's no fluke. He can make adjustments. They can play defense. They have 4 or 5 guys who can get you 20 plus on any given night. The size and the physicality in the front court, the size and length and athleticism on the perimeter will at the very least make life difficult on Butler and on Steph Curry, because you've got about 3 or 4 guys you could throw at them defensively: Smith, Van Vliet,
Van
Amon
Vliet.
Thompson, and well, Van Vliet could chase around
Okay.
Steph, just like he did in the 2019 finals. Not to guard Jimmy, but I'm just saying those are going to be your 4 main defenders on those 2 guys: Smith, Brooks, Van Vliet, Amon Thompson. And then what? Maybe Tari Eason?
Yeah, take Van
Probably.
Vliet out of
Yeah.
there. But yeah, Tari Eason, like
Okay. Tari Eason, tomatoes,
no,
tomatoes.
it's not like
Yeah. So,
I think Van Vliet is going to get absolutely hunted
and then,
and dealt with.
yeah,
But
right. And I think Şengün is going to barbecue chicken Kevon Looney. He's going to barbecue chicken Quentin Post. And Draymond has to be careful with foul trouble and technicals and flagrants in
he
this
going
series. And I know what
bro,
he's going to try
he's
to do.
gonna
He is going to try to
he's gonna
defend
act a
Şengün
fool.
the way he did 2 years ago against Sabonis, stepping on people's faces and knees and all of that shit. He is going to try to get under Şengün's skin because he knows that's the only way to get that dude out of his game. And if he is successful at that, that will lead to the unraveling of Houston. The one guy we haven't talked about, Chaz, what do we expect from Jalen Green in this series? Does he need to do a lot of the heavy
He's
lifting
he's
offensively at the
he's
very
got to
least?
average 27, 8 and 7, maybe even damn near 30 in order to get them there. So uh Jalen Green has to be the best player on the floor at least 4 times, 3 times for the Rockets to win this series. Maybe even 4 times, to be honest with you. Shit, maybe even 5 times because you can be the best player and still lose. That's how great Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, along with Steve Kerr and Draymond are. So, yeah, very intriguing matchup.
No home court advantage
No
either,
home
by the
court
way,
advantage, but also
for
the
Golden State.
second best. I just want to say this: the second most intriguing matchup outside of that is the Clippers and the Nuggets, just for the sole purpose of does
Definitely.
Kawhi play? What does Kawhi look like 2019 Kawhi based on how he's playing? Does Jokic, is he still as great of a player without his head coach and without Jamal Murray being Jamal Murray? Does Jamal Murray's hamstring magically feel better now that David Adelman is coaching? Does Ty Lue absolutely dog walk David Adelman in a coaching matchup because Ty Lue is a championship coach and he has Jeff Van Gundy as
Probably.
his defensive coordinator? Like, I'm, all those
Yeah.
storylines that I just threw at you, one series. That
Yeah.
is a hell of a series, and I got the Clippers in that one.
And the wild card that is Russell Westbrook going up against his former squad. What's his role going to be? Because here's the thing. They're going to try to get Aaron Gordon off of Kawhi Leonard, right? So who's going to take on that secondary defender role? Because I know what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to switch Jamal Murray or Christian Brown as often as they can onto Kawhi Leonard. And if you're David Adelman, you have to avoid that. Now, Russell Westbrook is no slouch defensively. And if nothing else, I understand he coughed up the game in that double overtime loss to Minnesota. I understand Denver fans are probably going to be uneasy if he's playing crunch time minutes. The one thing you can't deny, though, about Russ is this guy is still a gamer, and he could still make an impact on the floor without necessarily scoring the basketball or even making passes. He's still an able and willing defender. And you don't have a ton of those guys in this series. I think Kawhi's going to be seeing a steady diet of Aaron Gordon, then Peyton Watson, maybe Michael Porter Jr., who's not a great defender, period. So we're going to see how that all pans out. And I think the question I have is the Denver team that we've seen the last 2 years that doesn't seem to miss any clutch threes against the Lakers. Oh, no. Are they going to have that same sort of mojo against the other LA team? Or is it just going to be, business as usual? We're going to see. And I think my question for the Clippers is, can James Harden avoid folding in the playoffs like we've seen him do throughout his career in OKC, in Houston, in Philly, and last year with the Clippers? That's going to be the $1 million question, because I think we have an idea what we're going to see from everyone else in LA. And I think this is the best Kawhi has looked going into the playoffs. So everyone says 2019. Go back to 21 in those first 2 rounds against who did they play? I think it was against Dallas and then against Utah. He was crushing people in those series.
He was, but
so,
he just,
yeah,
I
Kawhi
believe,
when
did
healthy,
he not end up getting hurt in
great.
that series? Wasn't that the series that?
Well, at the end of the Utah series, yes, when they had already clinched, that's when he tore his ACL in the closeout game. But my point is, in both of those 2 rounds, he was almost unstoppable. Dallas had no one that could guard him, and Utah didn't have anyone that could guard him. So, yeah, when Kawhi is healthy, man, this is the best he's looked going into the playoffs in quite some time. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun series. Saturday afternoon at 12:30. So, something to bag your lunch about. I don't even know what that means, but it just sounded good, Chaez.
How did you come up with that, man? Just bag your lunch, really?
I don't know. Well, because I take a bag of lunch to work pretty much every day. So,
Man, another week, another one of Chris's wild references, another great week of the Outlet Forum playoff edition or play-in edition of Outlet Forum, because by the time we talk next week, we will have a couple series, maybe 1-1, maybe 2-0. We'll see, Chris. It's going to be a great weekend. Hopefully, everybody has a great Resurrection Sunday and an Easter weekend. Thank you guys for tapping in with us. You guys already know what the deal is. Appreciate it. Every week, every Wednesday, we come into you live to talk all things NBA basketball, and I cannot wait to get into more things baseball later on this season. Shohei Ohtani just launched another home run, his 6th for 424 feet. NFL draft coming up. We'll talk some of that, I believe, late next week as well. And man, we are in the best time of the year. So appreciate you guys. You guys already know where it is, where to follow us at on Instagram, on Twitter. Chris, let them know where they can follow you, my man.
Well, first of all, one more thing. Go Kings go. The LA Kings also going to be representing at the crypto.com arena for the NHL playoffs. Yes, sir. And shout out to Clayton Kershaw, who made a successful 3 innings in his rehab start down in Oklahoma City. And by the way, shout out to Paige Beckers, #1 pick in the WNBA draft, going to the Dallas Wings. So they may have lost Luka, but Paige Beckers is going to,
decent consolation
maybe
prize.
can help. Decent
It
consolation
really
prize.
is. No
Yeah.
bullshit.
Like,
That's deep.
no, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. We get into a little WNBA here a little bit more toward the summer, but I just wanted to throw those 3 things out there. Great stuff tonight, partner. At the Outlet Forum. That's at the Outlet Forum on Twitter /X, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow me at Chris_Camello on X and CCamello1 on Instagram.
Follow the ticker, y'all. You already know what it is. We'll see you guys next week talking all things playoff NBA basketball. Peace.
Chris Finch, Atticus Finch, David Fincher. Lakers in 5.